Alrighty, good evening. Welcome to another episode of Card Authority, episode 48. We're getting close to a milestone there, Jenks.
It is almost episode 50.
Welcome everyone on a Wednesday night here. Thanks for joining us. It's been a big couple of weeks in trading cards, as it always is. We are in release season at the moment. Jenks, you're up and about. The Saints. Yeah.
Got my Saints membership.
Let me get your camera a little bit.
Haven't been able to use it for the finals for a few years.
Like ever.
Come on, Saints! We're up and about.
Welcome everybody. Thank you for joining us. Big couple of weeks, Jenks. Lots of big things to talk about tonight. Let's just clear the St Kilda issue straight away.
Right.
Okay.
What is the St Kilda issue?
Your unrealistic expectation of how far St Kilda's going.
My expectation, we weren't even supposed to make the 8 this year.
Not my word. That's what you told me before we went on air.
It just means never again will I be able to purchase my St Kilda cards at those sort of prices, you know?
Do you think St Kilda's going to win the flag?
Look, I hope St Kilda wins the flag, but no, I don't realistically think, as of right now, St Kilda is the favourite to win.
Are St Kilda winning this week?
Are we capable? Any team's capable on their given day.
Are they winning this week?
We're winning this week. GWS, 60,000 person crowd, of which, 85% is going to be St Kilda supporters.
Of 13,000
Raining at the MCG, I mean...
Have you guys ever played at the MCG?
not often, definitely not in the rain.
Do we need to have a wager? I feel like I need to take the GWS side for the good of the card community.
Okay, if St Kilda wins, the next podcast you need to paint your face in red, white and black. It's back on you.
Okay, and if St Kilda lose?
I don't have to do anything.
No. All right.
I don't know what happens if Saints lose.
Maybe we'll save this for another week to see if St Kilda actually get over the line. All right, welcome everyone. Thank you. Obviously, it's been a big week, or big couple of weeks since Gem released. Almost 4 weeks ago today.
In a couple of days. I think when was it, about the 10th or 11th? Everyone sort of received their boxes.
So like 4 weeks.
Almost 4 weeks. 3.5 weeks, we'll call it. Just shy of a month.
Which is 4 weeks.
Yes.
All
yes.
Right. So we obviously have talked on air everywhere. AJ, wish I on drugs switch names. Thank you, Justin. Gem has obviously been that we've talked about the delays and things like that probably stifled the release. The release has actually probably been healthier and gone longer than we expected and we'd sort of forecasted.
Yeah.
Where do you think the market is sitting at the moment?
So I think we talked last episode how some cards were getting down into the price ranges that we had sort of forecasted on our end. And then other ones were progressively getting there. I feel like we're probably at a point where we're well and truly there now. I feel like we've hit the range for pretty much everything that we projected. And again, when I say the range, it was that sort of where we thought we'd actually be at 2 to 3 weeks.
Yep.
It's sort of taken probably about 4 weeks to get there. I'm not seeing a huge volume of cards posted, but I am seeing a lot of cards selling. The right cards, again, at the right prices. You're seeing people have moving in and picking up the things that they think are probably underpriced or the right price in the market. And so you're still seeing a lot of actual transactions go through. There's definitely not a huge amount of cards, of new cards hitting the market, and there's certainly a lot of cards we're still yet to see.
Yeah, and I'm going to get to that in a second. I still think one of the big surprises, not a surprise, you and I actually privately talked about this. I thought the base cards were going to perform really strongly. And you and I had some very heated debates when we were doing our pricing modelling.
Yeah.
I think it's fair to say I was right. The base cards have performed really, really well.
Yeah, and I suppose that's going to be based on an individual's expectations. So when you say you thought they would perform well, you were expecting them, around that $40, $50 sort of price range?
Yeah, I didn't think they were going to bottom out as low. Like, obviously, some teams, some players are always going to be that $25, $30 that I'm interested. But the middle range are overperforming of even what I expected. You know what I mean? And the fact that there are outliers, Rosie, Dusty, Sheezel, Dacos, really any of the big clubs. Yeah. I think has been a pleasant surprise for the release.
Yeah.
On the flip side, the Sapphires have just fallen over.
Yeah, which is crazy for a card number to 70.
Yeah.
They really have fallen over. And again, it's one of those things that happens, and it happens with all different releases with individual subsets and stuff. And, you know, if you're one of those people that's not necessarily like team collecting or something, and you're looking to put your money into something, picking up those things at $50 to $70 is,
No.
I don't see how that's not, you know, a good investment from that perspective, or even as a collector, a set, if you wanted to do multiples of, that's probably a really good subset right now because it's undervalued against the historical market of cards numbered to 70 and
But
rarity. And
we've
and
seen
whatnot.
this before, especially in Series 2 releases where the box hits, actually it was the same for Prestige as well, the box hits, say, numbered to 80, fundamentally have always been a subset that have suffered.
Yeah.
You know, a box hit, you know, a premium product,
Yeah.
they're not valued the way they probably should be.
Yeah, that's right. Again, I think medium and long term, current market, most things are where we thought they would be.
Yep.
Sapphires have gone below where we thought they would be, and where I still think they're probably for the most part too low. The greens, the emeralds are where we projected them, but again, I'm seeing them as the ones that are going to continue to outperform.
Yeah, I agree.
I think ruby, they where we projected them early on, but I think long term those cards are a bargain for the most part right now in terms of a set collector.
Oh.
And within a collection standpoint and comparable numbers, card, you know, attributes, all that sort of stuff. And the signatures are pretty much in the range that I thought they would go
I think
to.
that the signatures are performing well.
Yeah.
I think
they're where they should be.
and
really.
what we're seeing, and we've talked about this even through our break channels, that the rubies, we have, you know, the rubies are meant to be slightly more common than the signatures.
Yeah.
We have seen way more signatures than we have rubies.
Yeah, so actually hitting them, it's, you know,
Yeah.
all of the ratios effectively the
Effectively
same.
the same, yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty much the same ratio. It feels like not as many rubies as signatures have come out.
So I'll lead into something here, and as we always ask about how much stock we think has been opened, and before you give your answer, there was a very interesting thread last night, Brad Trees, I believe, posted on Good Vibes, talking about Dacos, and we will get to that, obviously, if he wants to talk about that, but
Yeah.
talking about cards that people haven't seen. And one of the comments that I made was that I haven't seen the Bolton jumper number or the 01,
Yeah.
and then that opened up a flood of people mentioning cards that they hadn't seen.
Yeah.
Asher Ezekiel messaged he hadn't
Yeah.
seen the 01 or the 05 Petrarca Sig.
Yeah.
With that, and we're going to run something tomorrow on Card Authority on the page, but how much stock do you think has been opened based on the fact that clearly there are so many of these cards out there, including the Dacos 35 and 35, that haven't appeared?
Yeah. Obviously, look, we haven't pre-discussed this.
Yeah.
For the most part here at Card Authority, we don't actually like pre-discuss things unless it's a really particular topic where it's factual based and we've got fact on it. We do it so to ensure that we get this type of discussion happening.
Yeah.
And again, on the previous episode, you and I were very different in our way of thinking of how much has actually been opened.
Yep.
And I reckon I'm still gonna be lower than you. I only reckon about 60% of the product being opened.
Yeah, so I reckon that's where I was a couple of weeks ago. I think I said I was about
Yeah,
mid-50s
and
to
I think I was
60.
at about 40.
Yeah, I think the gauge that I use, and obviously I deal with those emails of people coming to try to sell us boxes,
Yeah.
the numbers have dropped off for people doing that. I think we're around the 70 mark, but it is something to think about when people start reeling off all these cards. And Plugger Lockett's just mentioned he hasn't seen the 01 or 12 Will Day.
But that's part of the problem is that people don't realise what has or hasn't come out because they're only focused on their own team
Sure.
or that particular
Yeah,
player
that's
or
right.
card.
Yep.
So if people start to reel off in the comments, for example, what they're aware of that hasn't come out from their team, if it's the jumper number or the 01 on the SIGs or the Rubies, I think there's going to be a lot of comments. Like,
Well, we're actually going to do that tomorrow on Card Authority.
Okay,
so,
there you go.
so don't
Alright.
burn the material,
okay,
right, bro?
okay. All right, there you go. But yeah, I feel like that's very much going to be the case. Like,
So let's just work on my number because it's high for a minute.
Yeah.
Say it's 70% has been open.
Yep.
30% is out in the wild.
Yep.
That is somewhere in the ballpark of 750 boxes.
Yep.
Where are they?
I think there's a combination of breakers that are holding an amount of stock. You would think between all the breakers stock on hand, 150 boxes maybe
More.
between the breakers.
more.
200, 250.
Yeah, probably.
Okay, between all the breakers. So then what, 500 boxes still unaccounted for? So I think available on the secondary market at any given time, there's probably 30 to 50 boxes, right?
Yep.
I think there's a lot of people holding the stock sealed. I think they're waiting for the future and don't want to actually sell it now. But I think there's a lot more people still holding sealed boxes than what we used to.
And people are popping up. Brent saying he's got one. Luke saying he's got three.
Yeah.
And look, Aiden Maxfield just made a really good point there. So many cards get pulled that don't get posted publicly.
Yeah.
Even going backwards, previous releases, I still find jumper number 01 cards that I've never knew had been pulled haven't been posted.
Yeah.
And you're absolutely spot on, Aiden. I guess the thing that's slightly different these days is since the introduction of SEC, you are getting a turbocharged opening of boxes from collectors.
Yeah.
Whereas in the past, and certainly in the older days, where stock would sit at the distributor, et cetera, come forward a little bit for your camera. We are seeing more cards being opened.
Yes.
So I've definitely noticed over the last couple of releases, Series 2, Supremacy, Brilliance, all that kind of stuff, we're seeing a lot more of those cards being accounted for because through breaks, through SEC, stock is getting opened a lot faster.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and I think as well, the SEC is probably a reflection that a lot of the SEC members would cross over to people in the Facebook community as opposed to the people that are just in the eBay community and outside of the Facebook community because the Facebook community, due to just the nature of it, is more aware or hyper aware of everything such as the SEC.
Yep.
And as a result of that, although I totally agree with what Aiden's saying, I think we do see a very large amount of what's actually going on through the Facebook community. You know what I mean, and the community pages and the groups.
Yep.
So as a result, that also gives us a really good data set or a really good sample of people that we can then sort of put the multipliers and the ratios into to determine what how many cards are out there and what percentage roughly is sort of being opened and of those high cards that are in the market. So
absolutely. And Oren Flam, the Flam to Fish, he's like, why would the Dacos jumper number be worth more than the 01? What happens if he changes numbers? The 01 is always the 01. Luke was able to answer the question before I even got to it. 35 is a legacy Collingwood and Dacos number.
Absolutely.
And when we talked about this before Gem was even released, we specifically talked about the 35 of 35 being a special number.
Yeah, well, and we also talked about it, if I recall, off the back of the announcement of Gem when we saw that those cards were numbered to 35. We also talked very specifically saying, Nick Dacos, number 35, the print run's only 35, 35 of 35 in this particular release is... it's got a bit of amplification around it.
Absolutely,
I suppose,
yeah. And that's why we put out our bounty looking for it. And I guess that probably segues into a conversation that everyone wants to talk about.
We have seen infinite messages over the last couple of weeks.
We have. So for anyone that's been stuck under a rock, at RGB Collectibles, we put out a $10,000 bounty for the 35 of 35. A lot of people called us crazy. I called Jenks crazy. There were all sorts of fun conversations off air after it was actually confirmed. But nonetheless, we did put it out there and have been anxiously waiting. Over the last week, there has been a couple of attempts to, create
a bit of pandemonium.
Yeah, a little bit of theatre where people have perhaps been a bit crafty on the old paintbrush and tried to get the money out of us. Obviously, we're wearing multiple hats here, Jenks.
Sure.
But what was your first thought when you saw the post about the 35 of 35?
Okay, so the first thing is, so for people that don't know, there was a post on a Facebook group, on a private Facebook group, where someone declared they had the 35 of 35 and they posted up what they said was a photo of the card. And obviously a significant amount of text to go with that as well, which included you, me, a card authority, everything was sort of included in it. That obviously was posted by a profile that was only created, I think, 12 or 18 hours beforehand, had no other activity. So, all right, clearly fake profile, someone's having a bit of fun, someone's taking the piss here, no worries.
That's fine.
Yeah. At face value, I think most people looked at it and thought it was real and people were congratulating the person and all sorts of stuff.
Or having a laugh.
That's right. Replies ensued, commentary ensued, all these sorts of things. Let me just say as a precursor, I am blocked from that particular group, so I didn't even have the ability to even see it. I find it a bit ironic that it was posted in that particular group as well, which I'm clearly not a part of. And for those that I can't remember what it's called, it's one of those just like generic AFL buy, swap, sell groups. It's not it's nothing.
The Wild West.
Yeah, one of the unregulated places.
Yep.
But yeah, and I suppose then it all started to, there's a lot of commentary and there was a bit of back and forth. It was all very funny, all this sort of stuff. Then a couple of days later, Select comes out. They put a post on their social media showing the signed version of the 35 of 35. I think some people got really confused and they thought that maybe that's a validation that the other person has got it.
It was, in fact, just they'd finished the signing.
That's right. But then obviously they then went and commented on their own post, making it very clear that they were showing a photo as Nick Dacos had just signed the cards.
It was a flex by Select.
That's right. And they confirmed that they'd received no
redemption.
No attempted redemption on that particular card. Obviously, things went quiet for a couple of days. Then the post reignited again, the initial one. It all started happening. In the meantime, some people went to the nth degree analysing the image and all that sort of stuff.
The internet detectives, they're beautiful.
That's right. And some people have made a clear confirmation that there's discrepancies between what it should look like and what it does look like when it's highly magnified. So you take that, you take the fake profile, you take all the commentary that was going on, and I think from the outset you can identify, well, it's a bit of a hoax, it's not really real. However, you then got into a bit of a conversation with the profile that posted it.
Well, at the end of the day, I want the card. I want it for a repack. We've always said we want it for a repack. We're not holding it from the market. It will get back out there to the community. And I simply said sold. I said sold. I'll buy it. You tell me where you are. I'll fly anywhere in Australia to come and get that card.
Yeah.
But you need to provide me video proof.
Yeah, we want live video, not just an edited video.
It doesn't have to be public.
Private FaceTime,
FaceTime, whatever. And you and I'll jump on a plane and go and get it.
Yeah, but there was something really ironic happened, right? That person then came back and said, I want proof that you've got the money. But I feel like that's in an absolute juxtaposition.
Yeah.
Ironically, one of the words given tonight was juxtaposition, but that wasn't the official usage of a word tonight. But I managed to slot that one in there too. But it was in real contrast to the actual initial post, which effectively had a crack at us for the amount of boxes we're breaking through our breaks business and the apparent amount of money we're generating. So it's a little bit rich to say, you guys don't deserve it for 10, you pay 35 because you got so much money. And then someone saying, I'm not going to prove to you I have the card until you prove to me that you have the money.
And let us just say, all right, this is not about us. We love a good troll post.
Absolutely.
More than anyone, we get a chuckle. If people want to go and troll us or troll other people, as long as it's done in the right spirit and stuff, we go for it. It adds a bit of colour and commentary, and we are all for it. And we had a chuckle. Whoever it was that did the post, we had a chuckle too. Like, it's good fun. But as I said to Jenks, if that's what it is, we'll go and buy it.
Yeah, and look, absolutely, my opinion is whoever it is has a Dacos card. It's a real photo. Yeah. It's just an edited image. So my expectation's going to be, redemptions are wide open at the moment. Whoever that is has one. They're going to get their signed version the next few days, and surely we'll see a post go up of the signed version that's been edited to say 35 of 35 as well.
Yeah.
The expectation is there. That is what's going to happen now.
Yep.
But as I said, we did confirm it hasn't been redeemed. There's been no attempt to redeem. And I would have thought if someone already had that card, redemptions were publicly announced, they were open, they would have made the redemption inquiry by now.
Sure.
What benefit is it to not redeem it?
There's lots of talks that it's Minwar, one of the greatest trolls in the AFL trading card community. A big shout out to Min. We haven't seen him for a while. He's probably on holidays. But look, the bounty is still live. $10,000 is there. Yes, it's more than the card's probably worth. Who cares? We want it. If it comes out, if you've got it, even if you don't want to sell it to us, tell us that you have it so we can then go and, I don't know,
stop worrying about trying to find
buy Minx a new computer or something. I don't know. But yeah, big shout out to Minwar. And again, troll post, Go your hardest. We love them.
We do.
Yeah, no worries, done. All right, so obviously it's been a lots of speculation, Jenks, about what is coming up.
Yes.
Now, it's fair to say you are a fan of Harry Sheezel.
Big fan of Harry Sheezel.
Your son has...
My kids are from the same junior footy
Yep.
club. I played at that junior footy
You are
club.
connected in the network with him. There's a brotherhood. And a couple of weeks ago...
I'm not going to go that far, but big shout out. Harry.
you basically called him your brother.
Oh,
Okay.
I don't know if that ever
And
happened. But sure.
then a couple of weeks ago, you brought shame not only to your own family, but to the whole Sheezel family by outing the photo of him with his DPSs.
I'm sorry.
Fair to say, Sheezels weren't happy.
Yes.
Management weren't happy.
Hey, it opened up the dialogue at least.
Yeah, that's true.
A positive.
But you've decided to target someone else this week, and you've got some exclusive news. And before you get to your exclusive news, all right, we have heard from different sources there is very, very strong words that we're going to hear about Legacy in the next 10 to 14 days.
Yes.
Select haven't confirmed anything. We've obviously seen the leaks, but we have got strong information.
Yeah.
Obviously, Jenks owns the business, but
Sure.
officially Select haven't confirmed. But you trumped my exclusive information.
Yeah, I've got something.
So
big.
who have you fucked over this
Look,
week?
to be honest, I feel like a real funambulist constantly walking on the tightrope here. Really, I'm always on the tightrope. So that's the only word I could think of that.
Okay.
You know, to really define it.
Who's
I've got
on your hit list?
I've got something big here.
Who are you putting out of a job this week?
Hopefully not a player or their manager.
Yep.
This is big. And I look, I've got to state from the outset, this isn't from Select. I don't know what problems this is going to cause you after the show, AJ. But I have from a very, very good source within the AFL management community. And no, it's not my boy Jack Steele. That's not where this has come from.
Apologies to the Steele family in advance.
There is going to be captain signatures in Legacy. We are seeing the return of captain signatures to Legacy. It's coming. As I said, Select hasn't said anything. They won't confirm it. They won't even respond to that particular
I asked the
inquiry.
question, they wouldn't answer.
I got it from management, and you know, the source is good. I'd be very surprised if I'm wrong here, so I'm putting it out there now.
You use words unofficially to me, you've seen the contract.
Unofficially, I haven't seen a picture of the card.
No.
But the conversation has been had that an engagement has taken place
Okay.
with the captains of the clubs,
Yep.
and it's going to be fucking huge.
So for people that haven't...
Steely!
Well, that's if they don't delist him now. So for people that may not have done or seen captain signatures, the last lot of captain signatures was Dominance 2020, I believe.
Yes.
And since that time, there has been 14 new captains. So that means we're going to have 14 captain signatures.
Well, normally what has previously happened for teams that would have a double up, if it was the same captain, they wouldn't get a captain signature.
Correct.
They get split between different releases or maybe replacements or something alternative.
Yep.
Yeah.
So there adds another or a couple of interesting layers to this. We had a quick look at the captains list before we went on air. We've got some dual captains, which is not captain sig, which is the situation for Sydney.
Look, I'm aware of the duels. Again, I know of a few of the duels, including the St Kilda one from
I think North have one maybe.
Era. But yeah, I don't know if there's ever been a triple. Someone will be able to say if there's ever been a triple captain signature. But it begs the question. I suppose if they've gone with dual captain signatures in the past, well, they're going to have to print a card that has the 3 players on it with 3 signatures.
Yep.
And that's pretty crazy, to be honest. Like,
So captain signatures coming in Legacy in the next couple of weeks. All unconfirmed except for what we hear from Janks.
Yeah.
Apologies to the manager who has just
but
been
you know
driven
what?
over,
And
under a bus.
It'll get back to them, but the reality is I felt like it was my duty to not to continue on that information. It's only been a few days, but it's been hard to keep it in.
Yeah.
But yeah, like it is what it is.
All right.
I'm sorry, everyone. And I'm sorry,
Bounty
Chiefs, for
on the
last time.
2023 Premiership Captain jumper number signature. Look, let's just deal with one bounty at a time, Sam. I don't know. We might do a bounty again. Who knows? There's obviously lots of good comments coming through. Everyone's pretty excited
Matt
about that.
Thuma, that's I do actually remember that.
Last time I'm pretty sure we had Doc and Cripps and only Cripps on. Yeah, Matt, actually we talked about that. Was that when Doc was out with cancer or knee replacements or something? Or
And he got announced-
back-to-back knee reconstructions?
Yeah, so he wasn't
active? Like Cripps was kind
wasn't-
of acting captain?
Yeah, I think so.
I think so. Matt, you're a Carlton man. You'll remember more clearly than we will.
Paul Manish says it happened with Kennedy last time.
Right.
As co-captains, there you go.
Yeah, okay.
I stand corrected.
Yeah, okay.
So there obviously has been occasions where they didn't.
Well, I know with Richmond, obviously, it's Grimes and Nankervis.
Yeah.
So I presume it's going to be a duel.
So look, here we go. We can start to discuss and speculate. Will they do the duels and triples for the teams that have multiple captains? And how do people feel about that? And it's going to be interesting. As you said, we went through the team list beforehand. I reckon some people probably don't love their captains.
Yep.
But then others, pretty
Like
awesome.
you.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
It's pretty awesome.
I mean, I did have a little chuckle at Alex Pearce being the Fremantle captain. I didn't even... no one even knows who Alex Pearce is. Big apologies
Marty
to the Pearce
Davis
fans.
says no triple, but definitely a duel. Also, in 2001, West Coast had co-captains, and each got a sign card individually, which beefed it up to 18.
Marty,
You could be onto something here.
Maybe
I didn't
that's
know that.
how they're doing it.
I
Yeah,
had no
Bradley
idea.
Stone saying individual cards as well.
Interesting.
Maybe that could be the way they get it up from 14 to 18.
Interesting.
Interesting.
I had not considered that. So
Okay.
I personally haven't collected
Yeah.
those cards because they didn't. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Very
Very
good. Well,
interesting.
certainly some exciting times coming ahead. Obviously, we're going to know a little bit more over the coming weeks if the information is true that we've heard.
Yeah.
No,
So
don't sleep
again,
on
so
that.
what did you say? You've heard a strong rumor that
Strong rumor in the
we
next
will get
10 to
an
14 days.
official announcement of some sort.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. Again,
Get prepared.
I asked Select. They gave me absolute donuts.
Yeah.
So, yeah, but
That captaincy thing's interesting. So do is there individual redemptions for each player, or do you, if you get a West Coast captaincy redemption, do you then get back
both.
2 individual cards?
Ooh.
Are they numbered the same? Is this like the Virtuoso redemptions? I've got a lot of questions here.
Well, Justin Cranston mentioned about the AFLW players. Could it be that you get an AFLW signature and an AFL men's
Hold
signature?
on. So is it Sydney that has 3 captains?
Yeah.
So do they have an AFLW team?
Yes, there's 18
There's 18 AFLW
yes.
teams. That's right.
Yeah.
So if it's Sydney, you could end up with 4 cards. I'm just playing. Might be the only time GWS card will be in demand. That Toby Green would be a beauty.
Yeah,
Says
Toby
Paul
Green
Cena.
captaincy, absolutely. Jack Steele Premiership card as
So
well.
Stacey-
Well,
you
settle
reckon-
down, Stacey.
Stacey, you reckon there's going to be the Norm Smith
Yeah,
sig for Steely this year?
maybe.
Yeah,
Luke's saying
so-
so. The captain sig would be the top card for the release. Not sure, but look,
Historically,
historically, it's been a case hit.
Well, it's always been the major case hit of
Yeah.
releases. There was even some where it was more than, it wasn't even one per
Well, I think in
case.
Dominance they had a Dominance card and
No,
a
it was a
captaincy.
Dominance card or a captaincy.
no, because the teams matched. Remember?
Yeah, but that was the alternating.
No,
year,
no.
wasn't it?
There's one per case.
Did you get both case?
Yeah, you did.
You did.
Yeah,
Yeah.
So yeah, maybe it could be the case that there's got to be like we haven't seen a checklist. Nothing's been released. Nothing's been confirmed.
To
by
be
Select.
honest, Select hasn't even confirmed that Legacy is the release.
Yeah.
But it would be pretty hard to deny it, considering where everyone's seen the DPS leaks.
Yes.
So, yes.
Well, I doubt Sheasel signing a DPS for next year.
Maybe he's going to go twice up for the Rising Star. What do you think about that, by the way?
The Rising Star.
But let's just talk about Rising Star,
Yep.
Sheasel, North Melbourne in general,
Yeah.
and how these all correlate with each other.
Well, we can certainly talk about what we see through when you do breaks for pick your team, okay?
Yeah.
I can't remember in history any time where North Melbourne is picked in the first 10 claims and North Melbourne is first or second pick straight after Collingwood.
I can't recall any time in modern history where there are any North Melbourne cards in a release that are in the top few most expensive cards of a set.
Absolutely.
And we talked about it, we touched on it. The Harry Sheezel base card selling for like,
120, 130 bucks.
yeah, like versus any other North Melbourne or what would be an equivalent team selling for $30, $40, $50
Yep.
is really interesting. The booklets, everything. Is Harry Sheezel lifting North Melbourne cards overall at the moment?
Absolutely. That's not even in question.
Like the Sheezel Rising Star Redemptions, what golds are going for $400 to $500. Platinums around the 1,000 mark.
Yep.
Platinums, I expect, will be you won't in a week or two. You won't even be able to find them anymore unless they come out of future boxes. The golds will all get snapped up.
Yep.
Do you think that the Harry Sheezel Platinum Rising Star booklet ends up being one of, if not the most expensive or like highest demand and therefore highest price North Melbourne card of the modern era?
I think that's a big call.
Like, is that comparable? Is that more? Is it a higher demand card because of the player than the Supremacy booklet that's only numbered to 25?
No, I don't think so.
Is it equal?
Well, we've never seen a Rising Star booklet before.
Because it's the first of its kind.
Yeah. I pose this to you. If they did Supremacy again,
Yeah.
and there was a Harry Sheezel numbered to 25,
Would it be more
as a new
Well, it's crazy because like fundamentally, I would always say the Supremacy, which is a patch, a big match worn patch numbered to 25. It's certainly a lot rarer. Production quality is equivalent. Let's say like attributes are equivalent. It's a really good question. Yeah, in every scenario, I would say the Supremacy booklet. However, does the fact that it's the first ever Rising Star booklet redemption give it that little bit extra? And I suppose this lends to that discussion we've had over and over about people preferring a platinum DPS number to 40 as a, we'll compare it with the Gem Sig. More
Yep.
people said they'd prefer the number to 40 Sig over a Gem Sig, even though a Gem Sig is to 35 and it has all these other attributes to it. This is very much a similar scenario. I don't know.
Well,
I don't know.
I look at this
it's
scenario.
Weird. It's weird. It's yeah.
We've been talking for 47 previous shows to this over the last couple of years about we will not see the full value, or the true value of those Supremacy rookie cards numbered to 25 for a few years.
Yeah.
What we're getting is a turbocharged example of that now with the Rising Star.
Yeah.
That those cards, those numbered to 60 booklets, you are not going to be able to find.
Well, no, because look, they've come out of a mainstream product.
And let's give it a comparison. Patrick Cripps last year wins the Brownlow medalist.
Yeah.
Arguably one of the great players. He will be a Hall of Fame player. He is from a Melbourne big Victorian club, big supporter base. Those platinums were $1,000 to $1,200. So Sheezel has played for 35 seconds for North Melbourne, and the starting price is already at that.
But okay, so there's a few factors involved in the Sheezel thing overall because there's a multitude of different people collecting it. 6 months ago, no one even knew, or until he played his first game,
Sure.
no one knew who he was. This is an interesting one for me because obviously I'm tightly connected to this thing.
Not anymore.
I told AJ literally 2 years ago when this kid was playing under 16s, I was saying like, watch this kid, this kid's going to go fucking unbelievable. Like, he's amazing. He's going to be in the draft in a couple of years. Fair to say he's outperformed even my expectations on what I thought was possible. But like, he was my first player outside of like CJ. So outside of St Kilda, I don't have any other PC of players. I've got some CJ cards, which are for my own PC. And then obviously Sheezel was the only other one I'd ever even considered doing, and that was a one. And I said to you, like, I'm going to go hard on Sheezel, and it's going to be great. No one knows who the guy is. He's just some kid from Ajax, that I've got a connection to. Obviously, that's all out the window now. And I'm just happy to get a single master set done of his
Sure.
cards, which fortunately up until now I have one of each of them. But it's very interesting what's going on here because I think there's a number of people like me.
Well, yeah,
There
you,
are
you see the
people
people buying Sheasel
That's
cards.
right. There's people from the junior footy club and within his tighter knit community and his school friends and all this sort of stuff who are not trading card collectors, but they are collecting and buying all the Harry Sheasel cards. We know for a fact his family members are buying up his cards as
Yep.
well. Then you've got the pre-existing North collectors who want their share of him. Then you've got a couple of those North collectors who also bulk cards who have decided now he's performing, so they want to bulk him as well.
Yep.
So that's part of it. And then because you've got those two creating like a critical mass together, you've got lots of people now speculating Harry Sheasel and going, okay, well, I'm seeing the cards are in demand, so I've got to get on the bandwagon as well now.
Yep.
I want the Harry Sheasel cards. And so it's very interesting. I think the speculators only make up a small proportion, though. So in the
Sure.
future, this is not going to be like Nick Dacos or even Dusty to an extent where you're going to see people trying to turn these cards over. I think a huge amount of these cards will be locked away for decades.
Well, and you've also
Like, locked away.
And in that equation you just mentioned, and yes, Sam, we can confirm it is a booklet. We announced that a couple of weeks ago on the show, and we confirmed it on a comment that the Rising Star, Gold, and Platinum are booklets.
Yeah.
So it will be the same as the Coleman or the Brownlow. But also in that collector group that you were just talking about, you've obviously got the Master Set collectors, and you've got people like myself that I collect Brownlow and
Yeah.
metal booklets.
Yeah.
So I've got them all for all the previous ones. So you put all of that into the pie along with all these new collectors that you've just mentioned.
Yeah,
Suddenly a number to 60 card disappears very, very quickly.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think there's an amount of people here, as I said, who are not card collectors, friends, family members, all that sort of stuff. They just want them. They don't understand the aspect that there's other people collecting the cards or anything
Yeah, that's
like
right.
that. They just go on eBay and they just buy it.
Yep. And those cards don't ever get sold back
That's
in the
what I'm
market.
saying. They never come back to
They
the
get
hobby
put, they
again.
get put in a drawer and they're
That's
they're
right.
gone.
They're
yeah.
locked away forever.
Yep.
That's right, exactly. Or maybe in 10, 20, 30 years, someone's kid ends up with it and goes and puts it on the market.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Like, it's really, really interesting. Like, it scares me what his DPSs are going to be like.
Well, good question. What's a Sheasel number to 40
It's-
Platinum going to be?
So my thought was, before the season started, as I said, I said to Matthew Wardrope, one of the biggest known North Melbourne collectors, I messaged him before...
Matty Wardrobe be hating this.
Yeah, but I messaged him before the season started. He would have the message, as would I, and said, "Hey mate, just letting you know, well in advance, there's a kid called Harry Sheasel that I'm going to go super hard on his DPSs and his rookies and all his cards. I just wanted to let you know in advance, you know what I mean?" And I think he was just like, as long as I can get the 01, I'll be happy, whatever. And I was like, cool, whatever. My expectation before the season is, again, based on the last couple of years, was no worries, North Melbourne, unknown, perfect.
Easy.
I'm going to go buy 20 couple DPSs at $30 each, and I'll get 20 gold DPSs at, $60 each, and I'll pick up platinums at like 120, 150 maybe, you know what I mean?
It's not St Kilda, mate.
I'm now, if I can get just one of each, I'll be content.
What do you think they're going to be worth?
Like,
Stop dodging the question.
I think they're just going to go for stupid money.
How much?
For the same reason.
How much?
I don't think it's day cost money.
Is it Jamara and Horn money?
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
$500 to $700 out of the gate.
Is that what their platinums are?
When they first came out, they were about $500 to $700, and then they cooled a little bit, and then they dried up. But
I was going to say, I think the platinums probably just based on the people that want them, plus the speculation play around them. And I could be completely wrong here. Maybe I'm missing the mark, but I was thinking probably $400 to $600.
at $400, you are dreaming. How
I
can
am, aren't I?
how can a number to 40 DPS
Of him, it's true. I know.
and already
I know.
his number to 60 Rising Star
So
booklets
confused.
are
I'm
$1,000?
so confused.
Like, we both could be really wrong here. These could come out at like $800.
Well, that's the thing. So, because how much is the copper? Is a copper straight off the bat $100+ card?
Yes.
Well, that means it's going to dictate the platinum.
So how can a base from Gem be $130, not signed,
Yeah.
but a
Yeah,
DPS
you're
number
right.
to 170.
You're right. The Coppers are going to open at like 200 plus. Yeah. I hadn't, to be honest, I hadn't actually thought about it. I just knew, based on what was going on, that I had to rethink what I was going to do and just be content with just doing a single mask.
So then, where does that put, say, someone like Ashcroft, he's a star, like, and we've debated this all season.
He plays for Brisbane and he'll always play for Brisbane.
Maybe, or his father's son, or whatever.
That's what
you
I
know.
mean. Like, he's connected.
But
to the
he
club.
is a serious player. Plays in the midfield, flowing locks of hair, just like yourself. Ball winner.
I'll tell you what I really do think about this, and it can actually probably lead into that other topic you wanted to discuss that got brought up before that Sher posted about.
Yeah.
But the fact of the matter is, Carlton support, Melbourne, all this sort of stuff. It's much easier to support a player from another Victorian team when you're a supporter already of a Victorian team, in my opinion.
That's true.
I think we hold the Victoria teams as almost as Victorians and supporters of Victorian teams. We hold other Victorian teams in a much higher regard than what we do to interstate teams. So if Harry Sheezel was playing for Brisbane, there wouldn't be the excitement there is. It's only because he plays for another Victorian team. And although North Melbourne doesn't have the biggest collector base around, it's still just the Victorian team factor. And I think the same thing. If any of these players, doesn't matter how good they are, play for Brisbane, GWS, West Coast, any of these, Port's a bit of an outlier, I think.
Yep.
But any of those teams, they just don't have the same interest from other non-team collectors.
Okay.
So, like, for example, I'd actually love to hear Butter's thoughts on this. I don't know if you've spoken to him about it. I certainly haven't, but I'd love to hear his opinion. Or, again, someone like Aidan Maxfield's probably could give us a good opinion here as well. How do they view a Jason Horne-Francis card? How do they view the interstate players? You know what I mean? For me, it's like you're just going to see the Matt Rowell effect. Doesn't matter how good they are. If they play for a shit team, it's not the same. Or not a shit team, an interstate team.
But
the
market is moving.
I agree, but it's not.
Like,
I don't think it's moving that dramatically, though.
I think there is going to be more and more player movement over the next 10 years. People starting at a club and moving to another club is going to be a lot more.
But they're still in those original colours
I don't
from
think
the
it
other
matters.
club. I do. I think it makes a huge
But
difference.
let's have a look at, say, using an NBA analogy. LeBron.
Small people.
But we're shifting that direction.
But the associations with players, people follow players through their career, and the clubs. Although yes, you have ringside ticket holders, all this sort
But
of stuff.
don't you think that's happening more now?
It's different. I think American sport is different. The people follow players and are transient with teams, and I also think the difference is in like basketball. People move locations, so like it's some very high proportion. It's something like, honestly, it's something like 70 or 80% of Americans, by the time they're 18, live in a completely different state to where they were born and grew up. Like, people don't stay in their states. It's very,
I get that. No.
So it's much more different. Whereas I think in Australia, we're so fanatical about AFL. And
We're tribal.
The connection,
I get that.
The connection is so deep, and that then what leads to exactly what Sher was talking about earlier.
Yeah.
It's different, and I feel like. I think someone just said it. What happens with Dusty? If Dusty went to Gold Coast, do you buy his Gold Coast cards?
Why PC Dusty?
Yes. Do you
So I
value
PC
his
Richmond.
Gold Coast cards the same as the Richmond cards?
No, of course
Why?
not. Because he's at the end of his career and he's not achieving the same things. But
Okay, so say 4 years ago he moved to 4 or 5 years ago. You say you won the premiership, he won the Norm Smith, and then he moved to Gold Coast the next year. If he had an identical card in Gold Coast the following year to what he
It
had
wouldn't be
in
worth as
Richmond,
much.
that's because it's Gold Coast.
yeah, and also there's Richmond players, Richmond collectors that would be naturally annoyed at
Okay,
it.
if Matt Rowell came to Richmond next year, would you go back and buy all his Gold Coast cards?
Well, I don't Matt Rowell PC, but
Do the value of his Gold Coast cards go up? Retrospect.
well, as you know, and a lot of the people out there know, I PC Elijah Hollins, who plays for Gold Coast.
Yeah.
You should have heard the cheers that I had from my desk when I saw Elijah Hollins might be getting traded from Gold Coast.
Yeah.
Imagine if Elijah Hollins ends up at Victorian Club.
Yeah,
I
just still
all
I-
his DPSs,
I know,
all
but
his.
to me, it's just like, but if he was drafted to the Victorian club to begin with, the rookie cards and the DPSs forever would always be worth a lot more.
But what I'm saying is the market is going to change.
I think it's
It is-
changed,
it
but
is changing.
I don't think it's. Yeah, I don't think. I personally just don't think to the extent that maybe you think and what others do as well. Martin Davis had a really good comment there.
Let me scroll
I
back
read
up.
that one out.
I'll read that bit.
Marty's got good insights as well because
course.
he deals with players. So this is a really
Players and player connections,
comment.
family, friends are becoming more and more aware of DPS cards and any other associated cards to a drafted player. This is a factor we are not accustomed to from prior to when only top drafted players had a SIG. And that's right, now everyone in the draft field gets one. Had a SIG, and maybe the player got a rookie card. There is a gap of players without cards, particularly Future Force SIGs, that they didn't transfer into AFL club cards. And again, to expand on that as I sort of did as I was reading it out, Marty, and great point. Previous to Optimum, it was literally the top draft pick from each club got a DPS.
Yep.
There was a couple of outliers of a few releases. But since Optimum, where they've actually given a DPS to every single player
yeah.
that was drafted,
Yeah.
that has changed.
Yeah.
So there are more DPS cards out there.
So, okay, I'd love to see, you know, this was not a planned topic of the show,
No.
obviously, but I'm going the last one, which was also the most popular one, and in my opinion, the best Future Force. I know you don't love it. It's an amazing release.
Hate it.
The parallel cards in it, short print, but more importantly, the tiers of signatures, green to 25,
Don't knock the
gold.
camera.
Yeah, sorry, gold to. I don't know.
The gold to 25.
So it was platinum to 50, green to 25, platinum to 50,
Yep.
and then there was gold to 110, I think it was, or something like that, right? No teams. So as part of my master set, and I know lots of other team master set collectors are the same, I don't collect my players in other teams' colours, but I'll take them in colours that aren't associated to a team. So Future Force fits the parameters of my set collecting. What I want to know is there a player from 2017 Future Force, a high ranked player, and that ended up high in the draft, that has a signature in Future Force that also then has a DPS from an interstate team they were drafted to, and what is the value differential between them? Are the Future Force cards more expensive and desirable because it doesn't have that player connected to the team they were drafted to, which is an interstate team?
But isn't it the same pool of people wanting those cards?
Yes and no. Well, it's more importantly, that player needs to have then moved to a Victorian club, and
Yeah.
do you know what I mean? To see where it is. So then, because they're at the Victorian club, does the card that wasn't associated with the interstate team hold more interest, demand, and value than their draft pick signature card from the interstate team?
Yeah, I don't know. It's a good question. Is a AFL cards are tribal, and people are very, very, I don't cards of players, like I don't have a Tom Lynch DPS or anything like that, because even though he plays for Richmond,
It's a Gold Coast card.
it's a Gold Coast
Yeah.
card. But I don't PC Tom Lynch.
Tom Lynch is a great example. Yeah, he's got certified patch signature cards and patch cards, right?
No. Oh,
He did.
Yeah, he does. Yeah, he does.
In
Yeah,
Gold Coast.
Yeah.
They're not as valuable as his Richmond cards anywhere near. Like,
No.
and because it's Gold Coast, a lot of people, including yourself, have no interest in those cards.
Yeah.
So it's limited to just the Gold
But
Coast.
I
collectors.
am probably also part of the next generation of collectors that also player collect people. Daniel Sher, who we mentioned before, he collects Caleb Sarong.
Yeah.
He's a Geelong man, #1 ticket holder, Joel Selwood's personal trainer,
Yeah.
Waterboy, masseuse, drives him around.
Doctor.
He lives for Joel Selwood, but collects Caleb Sarong.
Yeah.
So I think people are starting to have PCs of other players in other team colours, and that to me is a big sign of how the collecting styles are shifting a little bit.
Yeah, and I think they have shifted, and will continue. We will see that a little bit more over time. But I don't think we ever get to the point where AFL cards and style of collecting becomes dominant in the way people do with NBA.
No, I agree with that too.
Yeah.
I think we're a long way away from that.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, mentioned Daniel Scher. So there was interesting. Also, the size of the club memberships, and there was an interesting comment made that Fremantle has more members than say Western Bulldogs.
Yeah.
But we would argue that the Western Bulldogs collector community is probably a lot stronger than Fremantle.
Yeah.
Do we see now as, and again, we always talk about team success is the thing that helps collector base. Say for St Kilda, if St Kilda do happen to have a little bit more success,
It'll be a huge conversion rate of fans into collectors.
Yeah, but we look at the numbers of members.
Supporters.
You've got 60,000 members,
Yeah.
all right, which you've told me at least 15 times today. There are probably, well, how many people in your St Kilda chat group? 30?
30.
And say there's another 50 recreational St Kilda collectors that are in the Facebook groups.
It wouldn't even be that many.
But let's just say it is.
Yeah.
80 into 60,000, there is a lot of upside of potential collectors there.
Absolutely. So, I'm conscious that we, way back in the early stages of Card Authority podcast, we 100% talked about this because I know I've made my position public at the time. And I remember at the time chatting to a couple of people about how this actually worked. And I believe Stephen King with a V, not a PH.
Yep.
Who's been around trading cards for a very long time. And I feel like him and I probably talked about this way back in 2019, 2018, where I was very inquisitive and I was learning about more understanding the market and how things worked and how cards worked. And I used him as a really good sounding board because he had a really good understanding. And he talked about what happened overnight with the Bulldogs when they won a premiership.
Yep.
They went from being a lowly collected team where there wasn't a massive amount of collectors and they didn't want to pay much for the cards to winning the premiership. Changed everything, and especially for people who owned card shops and were holding a lot of those cards at the time. But we talked in depth about the connection and correlation between fanaticism, success, longevity, and how that then connects back to how people spend their money and where they spend their money to support the club. Because generally, if you go and collect cards, the starting point of doing it is as a fan of a team, and that's what drove team logo merch or whatever it is, or sports trading cards, AFL cards, whatever it is.
Yep.
It initially starts as an act of fanaticism, basically, where you are proud to support that team because you love them. So I think the longer a team has been around, the more history and heritage it has, the more fanatical members become. I'm not saying that Fremantle and West Coast and the interstate teams don't have diehard supporters. I just think the volume of the diehard supporters...
It's not generational.
Yeah, the volume of diehard supporters at longer clubs, longer existing clubs, it breeds generational fanaticism, and therefore there's more of them. So there might be 60,000 members because of the longer history of the club, are probably inclined to spend more money or on their club or have a deeper connection to the club.
Yeah,
I could be completely wrong here, but I wonder
what an element of truth,
what would the merchandise sales, annual sales figures from a club of Fremantle versus St Kilda be? Is there a level of overcompensation because Fremantle's in WA, so if you're a member, you feel obligated to buy a jersey, a scarf, and a beanie?
Maybe.
Do you know what I mean? Like, I don't really know, but I would probably make the argument that the longer the club's been around, the more multi-generational fanatical the fans are, the more merch they sell, and the more the conversion becomes from fans to collectors in different categories, such as cards.
Yeah, that makes sense. Sorry, apologies if the sound is cutting in and out. I did tell Jenks not to touch the microphone stand there. But, you know, he can't help himself sometimes. Brent Allen mentioned, sorry if you've covered this already, what are your thoughts on the timing of the Legacy release? Looking like we'll have Series 2 released after the season finishes. Well, Brent, as we mentioned at the start of the show, unofficially, and again, Select haven't confirmed, we believe we're going to hear an announcement in the next 10 days, 14 days. So if we work that backwards, I would say we could either get it, you know, the week before Grand Final or the week after Grand Final, which was kind of similar to...
I think so, but I don't know. To me, it's almost like, to be honest, Brent, like in my opinion, it's irrelevant now anyway, because for me, it's like if a product doesn't come out 4 or 6 weeks before the end of the home and away season, where there's still a lot of action going on,
Doesn't really
well,
matter.
it makes no difference then whether it then comes out after the finals, during the finals, whatever it is, because the speculation of player performance it's already accounted for.
Yep.
And I think that's a thing from a collector's standpoint. It shouldn't really make much of a difference, but from a speculation standpoint, I think that's where people get caught up on how it impacts it. And yes, I would say there's something to the notion of outside of the home and away season, it means the speculation has a drop off.
Yep.
But I think once the home and away season's right at the end or over it, then sort of doesn't matter after that point.
And look, you know, certainly there's been a trend the last few years of Optimum or Series 2 being definitely later released in the year. And also we look at things like Supremacy, you know, that has been released late in the year as well. So I think the footy community, the footy trading community is pretty hungry for it pretty much all the time.
Yeah. Marty said something else really good there as well, which is complete contrast to what my opinion was. But I'm interested to know if it's just an outlier.
West Coast top 3 merchandise seller for the past 5 years, and today announced over 100k members. Over 15 years waiting list for the season tickets. Just don't see the translation to card collecting.
Yeah.
So West Coast is an interesting one, and Marty, obviously you know more about this than anyone being at the club. But my understanding over in Perth was that you weren't able to get a seat. If you wanted to go to the footy, if you weren't a West Coast member, you couldn't go.
So that's
and there was
forced memberships.
Well, there was 20-year wait list, and then Fremantle came along, and people became Fremantle members just so they could go to the footy. So you'd have West Coast members or fans switching to Freo. I guess is just another reminder to us about, as much as we think this is a really, really big community, it's so small. It's really, really small, full of active participations.
Yeah. The
participants.
Yeah.
But it gives us huge upside. Huge
potential,
upside.
yeah.
Huge potential.
And that's why we see it on an ongoing basis. And again, we've talked about this to the nth degree. People can be very vocal when 1 or 2 people are leaving the hobby, but what they're not seeing is the other 10 or 20 that are joining every single day.
Oh, yeah, there's so many news.
Every single day. But people are starting to notice it. Like, I'm seeing a lot more private conversations of people going like, are you noticing all these new names constantly and how many people are looking for cards, buying cards, new people with cards? So, yeah, it's definitely very high.
All right, well, look, we're about to tick over the 1 hour mark. Thank you, everyone, once again. Great questions, great, obviously, interaction. Jenks, well done.
Well done to you.
You've been walking on the
More
tightrope.
importantly, well done to everyone. Hey, for those who got involved with the word thing, I feel like that was a great success, and I want to keep that going every week. We're going to work out what the prizes are, and we'll work out a bit of a system with this.
That's a problem.
But look out for the next episode of Card Authority, and you might be able to have me squeeze your word in.
Maybe. So thank you, everyone, for joining us. Thank you. Obviously, make sure you check out all our socials, Facebook, YouTube, podcast. You can catch up on previous shows. Butters will obviously clip up a lot of the I guess, the bits that are, well, not shit.
Big thanks for the comments as well, guys.
Yeah, great interaction tonight.
Yeah, we love to be able to interact with you guys, and we want to be able to have that open platform where people can raise topics and ask questions, and we can talk about them as a group.
Absolutely. So look, hopefully, if the mail is correct and Jenks hasn't been assassinated by
Look
player
out for
managers,
custom signatures!
Legacy is not going to be far away next couple of weeks, and you'll be seeing us, as always, talking about the new releases as they come out. Thank you, everyone. Have a great evening. Be kind to each other. Be safe. It's an exciting time. We are at finals footy, and we have got some big releases of trading cards coming for the rest of the year.
Just leave you with this great specimen here.
St Kilda won't be still in the finals, but
The
we're
G
back.
train.
Thanks, everyone. Have a good evening. Ciao.